When I saw this photo and saw my makeup in this photo, that was when I was like, oh, I know how to do my makeup. I know how to do my makeup. I know how to do my makeup. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so excited to be bringing you another video, but this time we're talking makeup, we're talking base, and I'm gonna walk you through how I do my base makeup, my updated base routine, that sort of thing. This is my first like long form makeup video in a very long time, and I'm super excited. But before I even get into it, feel free to hit that subscribe button if you want to talk about makeup, if you want to talk about skincare, if you want to talk about life in your 20s, if you want to talk about being a Black woman, if you want to talk about being career driven and goal oriented, if you want to talk about all of the things, honestly, because that's what we talk about here. Subscribe. At least I hope you do. Okay, but anyways, let's get into this look. First things first, one of the most important things about my makeup routine is skin prep. Do not think that you can get away with just doing anything with your skin and piling makeup on top. Every time I do this flawless beat makeup routine, I always wash my face from scratch. Even if I've washed my face in the morning and I'm now in the afternoon, like, no, I need to start off with a freshly washed face, a freshly hydrated face, a freshly moisturized face. All of those things are very, very key and very important. I've already washed my face. Why can I not speak? I've already washed my face and I have already applied just a little bit of like a hydrating toner. I use the Lee CoQ-10 toner, but you can use any hydrating refreshing spray. That is in the event that your face dries out between when you wash it and when you start your skincare. In the most ideal world, you should be moving on and doing your skincare as soon as you washed it. I'm the type of person where my face will dry out really quickly, even though I have oily skin. So I like to go in and hydrate as soon as possible. I've already gone ahead and applied that toner and washed my face, but my wash day or my makeup day routine will usually consist of this Caudalie Vinoperfect serum. I use it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, even when I don't wear makeup. But for some reason, this as well as the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Serum, these two I find go really well under makeup. They like kind of have this like milky consistency that I think just goes really well for hydrating. It's not too sticky, but it's also not just like gonna slip and cause your makeup to slip around. So I will probably start off, or I usually start off with either one of these two. And then a staple in my makeup prep, skin prep routine is the, why am I forgetting the name? The Glow Recipe Niacinamide Glow Drops or Dew Drops. I will always use this. I don't know what they put in this besides niacinamide, but it just does a really, really good job of giving my skin a glow, giving my skin hydration, a nice little sheen. And because it's skincare, I'm like, I feel like it's doing a little something for texture. So I like to use these niacinamide drops. I'm on my like maybe 4th or 5th bottle. This is always a staple in my routine. Whenever I get it in PR, I'm like, sorry, I'm not giving it away. Oh, I also forgot to mention that I've already applied eye cream, but you know, I'm not a everyday, like I don't necessarily need to use eye cream every single day, but I just find that like really making sure that I have hydration under my eye is going to be important for concealer later on. So I will normally use the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright C+, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but the Banana Bright Brightening Cream. And that is what I will use under my eye. After that, I'm squared away to just go on to moisturizer. There are probably two types of moisturizers, or like I have two favorite moisturizers. The first is the Augustinus Botter one. This one is pretty pricey, admittedly, so just keep that in mind. Or I also really like the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Face Base. I've been using the Augustinus Botter one for a while these days, so I'm gonna just go ahead and use that. But I also really, really, really do like the Bobbi Brown, and for the most part, like I would use that. It's a priming moisturizer, so it has the properties of just like what you want in a primer as well, but I don't use it as my sole priming product at all. And in the evening, that is where my skincare and skin prep routine would end, sort of, kind of. I consider that my skincare, and then I consider the next products my priming. But technically the next couple of products after the one that I mentioned could also fall into the skincare category because I'm sure they have skincare benefits. But because it is daytime, I'm going to use SPF. Never ever skip this step, especially as someone who is very, very prone to hyperpigmentation. I am always, always, always going to use SPF during the day, whether it's overcast, whether it's cloudy, whether it's raining outside, whether it's winter, I'm going to use SPF. Right now, I have been loving the Kiehl sunscreen serum that I have right here. So I usually just take about like 4 pumps of that in my hands. Don't quote me, I'm not actually sure if that's like enough, but I'm putting makeup on top of it, so. But it ends up being a pretty good amount that I have to take some time to rub in, but it rubs in beautifully. I also really like the Shiseido. They have an SPF, I forget what it's called, which is crazy because I used to use it every single day. But their chemical sunscreen, not their mineral sunscreen, because that probably is going to leave a cast, but it comes in the blue bottle. That's the one that I really like. And I also really, really loved Paula's Choice. They had this, what did they have? SPF oil. But it was limited edition, and that used to be my favorite to use under makeup. I completely used that up, and it was limited edition, and they stood on business and are actually not selling it anymore, which is honestly just confusing to me because I'm just like, what is the point of making something limited edition? Is it because you don't have like access to the materials completely? Is it because you wanted to test the waters? Like, it was an SP. What was the problem? Why couldn't you actually just put it on the market? Did it not sell enough? Like, I don't know. That's not my forte, but I really do wish that they would bring that product back because it was really, really good. And now, just like that, SPF is on, which means my skincare routine is complete and I am ready to move on to the base, the beginning of my base routine. I have gone ahead and done my brows off camera. I am a brows first type of girly. Didn't want to lengthen the video by doing a brow routine as well, but let me know if you want a separate video on that. But now we can move into what we are here for, the beginning of my base routine. Always, 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 I start off with the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Serum. This is the product that this is what I meant when I said that this technically could count as more skincare or skin prep instead of makeup. It is a hydrating serum, so I mean, I feel like I could use this regularly on a day-to-day, but I don't. I use this specifically when I am doing my makeup. Incredibly hydrating. I used it for the first time, or got it for the first time in 2022 when I was on a trip to LA with the Sephora squad. Used it once and was like blown away by how hydrated it made my skin. Like, I feel like you can just see a difference immediately. It's incredibly hydrating. I love it. I love it. I love it. And even though I have oily skin, particularly over here, like, I'm a firm believer in the fact that you still have to hydrate your skin. Otherwise, your skin and your pores are going to try and overcompensate by producing more oils because you've stripped your skin. So I am big on hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Serum absolutely helps me do that. After that, I'm ready to go into my primer. I was just about to say, when I am in warmer climates, my primer would be different than what I'm using now. So instead of, when I was in Grenada, if you checked out that vlog, if you haven't seen that vlog, you should. When I was in Grenada and doing my makeup, instead of, or sometimes in addition to this, I would also use the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm Powder in the Universal shade. I think I should do a separate video. I have so many separate videos now, but I think I should do a separate video on my like hot weather makeup routine, like the makeup that I do when I go to Ghana or tropical environments. So I will save you those details for now and focus on this actual routine. The Fenty Pro Filter Instant Retouch Primer. This was the product that I had always had but never really reached for often until Uche was like, yeah girl, like this is that product. And I feel like it complements and goes very well into my makeup routine. So now it's what I use when I do this routine. I still love my Milk Makeup Hydro Grip. I still love the One Size, the Secure the Sweat Primer, like time and place, different settings, different contexts. But when I'm doing this routine, I'm definitely using the Fenty primer now. Now that my makeup or my face is primed, I am ready to color correct. Color corrector goes on before foundation, but after primer. I have always used the Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer. Oh, is it gonna focus? The Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer in the shade SX14, which really is just shade 14. And I'm going to use this flat concealer brush from Laruce Beauty. A note on brushes. You might see some dirty or some not clean brushes in today's video, and that is because I did not have time to clean them, and I also have an event tomorrow that I will absolutely be having them clean for. Your makeup will look 10 times better if your brushes are clean, and I know it is a lot of work to keep brushes clean, especially if you are someone who wears makeup often, which is why I have the Cinema Secrets brush cleanser for when I need like to do quick cleans, but then I'll also like when I know I'm going a long period of time without wearing makeup, we'll do the soap and water and all that stuff. So don't mind, do as I say, not as I do when it comes to the cleanliness of brushes that you might see in this video. Anyways, I'm just gonna take that and apply that to the dark spots on my face. So I have right here is a big one. I have a few right here. This is a very full coverage concealer, like so full coverage is not even funny. So you do not need that much at all, especially under eye. So I just do a little dab under eye. Really, my under eye is the most important place because at the end of the day, like foundation will cover up most of these dark spots on my face, to be honest, but it's a habit I have and it works for me, so I'm not gonna change it. And the video is about my routine, so I'm telling you my routine. I'm gonna take this Real Techniques. This is actually an eye brush, but I think it is also works really well as a concealer blending brush. So that's what I use to just blend out my color correcting concealer. We're ready to move along to foundation. Right now I have been loving a combination of the NARS Soft Matte Foundation and the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I wear the shade Namibia in this one, and I have the shade Iguacu in this one. I have always struggled to find my foundation shade because my undertone is like neutral in some foundations, red in some foundations. It's never really golden yellow, but like for the most part, I'm like a true neutral girly in a way, but like sometimes I lean red depending on the brand. And this is a combination of a more red foundation and a more neutral foundation. And I also really love the consistencies of both. One is more glow oriented and the other is more of a soft matte. I did 4 pumps of the light reflecting on my hand, and then I'm just gonna match with a 1-to-1 ratio of the soft matte foundation. And that usually gives me a healthy amount to apply on my face. I'll bring it closer so you can see that like Namibia is the one that's a little bit more red. It's really hard to see now because it's kind of gotten all over the place, but Namibia is the one that's oh my goodness. Namibia is the one that's like very red. And then if you can sort of tell, the one on this side is definitely more neutral, and that is Iguacu. So the mix of the two end up being really great for me. I'm taking a flat foundation brush. This one is from e.l.f., but I have one from Real Techniques. I have one from NYX. It really doesn't matter. Just a flat foundation brush, and like almost every brush brand will have one. And I mix it on the back of my hand, and that's like my mixing palette in a way. Dang. And then I just glide it on, and that ends up being such a good match for me. Like it's unfortunate because it's actually a lot more work and a lot more mess to mix foundations, but when I want my foundation to like really eat in pictures, which it has lately, I know I got to do this. I'm also going to take some of that foundation and use it to clean up the top of my brows. So instead of using that same under eye concealer, I use foundation. And people are always like, oh, did you not put foundation on my forehead? No, I did, but it's like such a good match that people never really realize that I put foundation on my forehead. And I put a little bit on my nose. I really just put it everywhere except for immediately under my eye. And then I'm gonna take this NYX Multipurpose buffing brush. I'm gonna take this NYX Multipurpose buffing brush, and just do light tapping motions to blend. I like to keep a little bit of product. Wow, this is actually very messy because it's on my hand. But I like to keep a little bit of product on the back of my hand instead of immediately always wiping it off, just in case I have to go back with a little bit more foundation after I've applied like bronzer or concealer or something and just need to clean up a bit. But look at that match. So here's the thing though, like matching is different. Like, just because I love this match doesn't mean that like the combination of two is going to match for you. So you maybe if you love the texture of how this looks, right? Like maybe you want to mix two of your matches. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say the reason I mix these two foundations is because of the match. If you don't have an issue with color matching, like if you don't have the same issue that I have, you may not need to mix the two. Maybe you also might love the texture that comes from mixing the two, and if that's the case, feel free to mix in your shades. But the primary reason that I came up, or that I now use this mix, is because of the shade match, and it also just happens to be a really beautiful finish as well when I mix the two. But like, you might just want to use soft matte alone, you might just want to use light reflecting, you might just want to use another brand. Whatever, the primary focus should be finding and having your best match, because your base is not going to eat if the foundation does not match. So if your best match is a Pat McGrath foundation, or if your best match is a Maybelline foundation, prioritize using that. But the main takeaway is find a foundation that matches you, that is in a finish and texture that you really like. Take a buffing brush and use light tapping motions to blend after you've applied it with a flat foundation brush. So the focus here is technique, not necessarily exact product. But I'm gonna tell you the product because that's what we're here for too. Like, I'm always just so amazed. I used to have to, like, there used to always be a like disconnect between face and body for me, because my body is a little bit deeper than my face. And like, sure, it might still be there subtly, but somehow it just all like flows together. Again, NARS, these two shades, best match for me, best match. Now on to concealer. I use 3 different shades of the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer. Normally I would say I would use 2, but the reason that I use 3 is because the first time I tried out this routine, I used 1 concealer. So I first started off with the shade Crumble, and I used that under eye, like right here. This is the first time I'm ever trying or practicing this routine. And when I put it on my face, I was like, I don't think I like the way that looks, right? So I basically then decided to go in with the next shade down, which was 7.3G. And it was almost like I was trying to fix my mistake. So I was like, let me just like put a little on there to like sort of mix it. And really what I should do is mix the two for my under eye, because that's what I was going for. So that really is just the way that I did it the first time, and I really liked it. So I was like, I'm not gonna switch it up. That's really why I do it. You can find one concealer and have that be the concealer that you use all over your face. So then I take that 7.3 Salted Caramel and I keep it close, tight around my nose in the center of my face. Oh, of course I spilled concealer on the floor. And I do the same on this side. This placement, by the way, I specifically got and followed from Uche. It's really cool to play around with placement, because before I used to do a whole triangle under eye, and I like this because it makes my face look a little bit longer, and I like that. I'm gonna put a little bit down the center of my nose, just a little bit, not too much. I'm gonna put a little bit on my forehead, and I'm not going to put any on my chin, because I'll take the excess from the rest of my face and then apply that on my chin. While that's settling in, I'm going to take this NARS Laguna Bronzing Cream in the shade 5, which is their deepest shade. Not really, I don't think this is the most ideal deepest shade. I think they definitely can go deeper, but and like, I know they can, because it's actually not deep enough for me, and I end up using a second bronzer. So I'm going to apply that right on like my cheekbone in a way and along my jawline. I'm going to bring a little bit right where my jawline meets my neck. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And then I'm also going to apply it on the temples of my forehead. As you can see, like, there's not that much of a contrast, which is why I end up going in with a second concealer or second bronzer. Could I just use the one? Sure. But again, the first time I did this routine, I did it this way, and the second bronzer was to course correct, and I just ended up liking the way that the look looked. So I just decided to keep the routine as is. What am I looking for? What am I looking for? Ah, yes. By the way, to put that bronzer on, I use this Sephora. It's actually a foundation brush number 56. Then I'm gonna take the small side of this IT Cosmetics brush and use that to just contour the top of my nose. Just up to there. Nothing too crazy. We're not bringing it down. And then at the base of my nose like that. Like bring it across. I used to not be a nose contour person, but I tried it. And again, I liked it. But very subtle. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. I actually really do like my nose. Then I'm going to take this Laruce Beauty Contour Blending Brush. This is the only brush I use to blend out bronzer, contour, anything like that, any cream products. And just do light tapping motions to blend. Blend the contour or bronzer on your forehead towards your hairline, and then blend the contour that's on your cheekbones upward. And then I would just blend, not necessarily upward or downward, but back and forth for the jawline. So as you can see, once I blend that out, it ends up looking really subtle, like really, really subtle. So I personally course corrected with the Milk Makeup Bronzer. This is the shade Spaced. And I just do a little bit more on top of the places that I contoured, but nothing too crazy. But actually, I don't put it on my jawline. I just put a little bit on the temples of my forehead and along my cheekbone. And then I do the same thing by blending it out, blending it upward, and blending it backwards towards my hairline. And that ends up giving me a bit more of the depth that I want from a bronzer. By the time I have blended that out, I'm ready to go on and blend my concealer. I love to let my concealer dry down. My favorite brush at the moment for blending out my concealer is this Jaclyn Hill Morphe collab brush. I don't actually know if they still sell this, but it is the JH08. If they do still sell this, I probably should buy like 2 or 3 of these just so I always have a clean version on hand, because this brush, if you use this brush when it is soiled with product, your makeup will not look good. Right now it is a little bit dirty, but it's not like heavily dirty, but it would look a lot better if this product were clean. So this is a brush that I would have multiple of just so I always have it when it's clean. Light tapping motions, baby. Light tapping motions, and then we're gonna bring the eye part upward. This is probably like one of the most important steps in the routine, if you ask me. Well, maybe not most important, but maybe like my favorite part. But it's important in terms of placement. Like, you don't want to end up bringing your concealer down too much, because that just like defeats the whole purpose. However, if you do, that's when you go back in with your foundation brush, take a little bit of that product you have on the back of your hand, and just bring back the blend in a more like, you know, artful way. So there can be a lot of back and forth at this stage. Back and forth between the contour brush, your foundation brush, your concealer brush, but all the same motion. Light tapping, light tapping, light tapping. Actually, I'm gonna use a smaller brush to blend the concealer on my nose. I'm not picky. This one is from MAC. It is a 286S brush, but I could use a Real Techniques brush. I could use an eye blending brush. It really is all good. For the contour, I'm gonna use this Sephora angled brush. It is this Pro Concealer brush 71, and I like it because it has this angle. Real Techniques also has an angled brush that is similar. I'm trying to give the girlies affordable options. Do I have it here? I should. Yeah, it's a little bit more fluffy. But it is also an angled brush that can fit in the way that this one does. But I use this Sephora brush just to blend out, upward and down, the cream bronzer that I put at the top of my nose. I'm gonna take that concealer brush again, and this is where I'm gonna start to place the excess on my chin, even though I didn't put product there. So blending out my forehead and placing that on my chin. It takes a pretty, like, this is the, you don't want to rush blending. This is not the time. Like, most of the time when people are like, oh, 10-minute makeup, I did my makeup in 10 minutes. I'm like, you gave yourself an arm workout if your blend is proper, because you need to take some time to blend. You really do. So as you can see, if I turn a little bit, this side, the blend is not as great. So I'm gonna go back with my foundation brush and just do a little bit of back and forth. Just a little bit. To give me a better blend. But then I also could go back in with my contour brush as well. But I don't like to do too heavy on the contour, and I think a foundation brush is the happy medium. So the point is, you're going back and forth with brushes to make sure you get that blend. At this time, I'm going to take a nice and damp beauty blender, damp and fluffy, right? You know what it's like when it's damp, but you've squeezed out all of the water, right? And then I'm just gonna go over my face pretty much to take off the excess. Yes, this is specifically from Uche's routine, and it just gives a nice, beautiful, seamless blend. I finally have use for beauty blenders in my routine again, because for a long time I was not using them. Really help get in there. Get in there. It's starting to look like something. At this point in time, I'm gonna take my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray, and I'm going to just do a little. I think that these type of sprays are sprays that should be applied in the middle of your makeup process. And then our handy dandy, I have to open a new bottle because my last one finished, but our handy dandy one size spray is for the end of the routine. So That's just an FYI. I'm now gonna go in with that third shade of the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer in the shade, and it is the shade Brittle. And I only apply that immediately under eye. I might wait like 30 seconds before I blend it out, but I don't wait too long for this part. And I haven't been using cream blush that much these days, so I just want to point that out. Haven't really been using it that much, but we do use blush. We do use blush. I'm gonna take that same sponge and now tap, tap, tap. Only under eye. Ooh, I almost got that in my eye. Only under eye. Like only in that like little corner crevice, because we just want extra brightness right there. My bad, let me keep my head up. You keeping your head up, ooh, child. Look at that. See, we love the gradient. If you want, you could just tap a little bit of the excess on the center of your nose, like right on the bridge. Right there. Just so it's not like floating. But I don't put product on those places. I just use the excess. Cool? Cool. Now we are ready to move on to the powders. Honestly, this process, or this part in the process, is really quick because there's not really that much blending that happens. You just have to be very light-handed. But I want to talk about, or tell you straightforward, I want to tell you at the forefront the 4 powders that are involved in my routine. So the first is the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Powder in Banana Bread. As you can see, I pretty much have used it all the way up. I'm pretty sure they're sending me one in PR, which is why I haven't bought one yet, but if they don't, I'm gonna go out and buy it. The One Size Setting Powder in the translucent shade. So I use a light yellow tone powder, a translucent powder. I will have a powder bronzer. So this is the Pat McGrath bronzer in the shade Burnished Honey. And I also really like the Fenty bronzer, but the Fenty runs red, and I think this look calls for more neutral of everything across the board. So I actually prefer the subtlety of the Pat McGrath bronzer. And then I use a powder blush, and this is my hands down #1 favorite powder blush. This is Paradise Venus from Pat McGrath. I'm gonna take this Say Beauty brush. It is their, I don't even know what brush this is. It just like has the perfect like teardrop shape to fit under eye. And I tap that in. Dang, I'm like really almost out. I think I should have a travel size. Yes, I have a travel size. So I'm gonna use the travel size because I'm like really, really out. Yes, perfect. I'm gonna put that on. I've put that on this brush, but I'm gonna just tap off the excess and then brush it in, rub it in a little, and then just apply that straight under the eye, but not too much, not too much. And that goes pretty much everywhere. Oh, this powder is so good. And that goes pretty much everywhere that I applied concealer. And just like a little bit on my forehead, but not too much. I find that like my forehead doesn't really need that much like light powder. If I want, I could do a little reverse contour action. I will. And do that on both sides. Oh, I need to put some on the nose. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just like press that in. Nothing too crazy. Then I'm gonna go in with bronzer. Just take any old powder brush, but I'm using this one from Charlotte Tilbury. And just going to, again, apply that on top of the places that I applied that cream bronzer. Honestly, doesn't need to be too much. You just really want to make sure this is blended out, even into the hairline, which is why edges, yeah, sorry. Taking a look at that. I feel like I want a little bit of brightness under eye, which is fine because that's exactly what we're about to do. So I do yellow powder first, then bronzer, then powder puff and one size powder, translucent powder. Tap that on the back of your hand and maybe even rub it in a bit so it's like even on the puff. And then favorite part, this is probably my favorite part because it just starts to look so good. I would say if you want, you could be a little heavy-handed, but this is not the product to be too heavy-handed with because like it will start to cake up. And personally, I don't really, I bring it up the side of my nose. Oh, there's a hair on my face, or at least I have an itch. I bring it up the side of my nose. I put a little bit on my forehead, a little bit down the center of my nose. Like there's not new product on this, so I don't really do too much for all of the other places, but we do a little something. And then this is technically the last step in my base routine. Yeah, because after that it's eyes and lips. So I'm gonna take my Pat McGrath blush brush and tap that into Paradise Venus and then just apply it. Is this Paradise Venus? Yeah, it is. Apply that generously. I'm generous with Paradise Venus. Apply that generously at the intersection of the translucent powder and the bronzer. And that's why I love to do powder blush last, because it kind of can act as this like bridge, or I'm blanking on the word, like liaison. Why am I using such an intricate word? But it can act as like a liaison between your powder, your like setting powder and your bronzer. And I love the way that sits between the two. Oh my gosh, I thought I almost broke that. If you want, you could put a little bit, across the nose. I did that. I don't usually do that, but since I want to be fancy. I really love this Danessa Myricks. The Danessa Myricks brushes, I actually should have done my makeup with them because they're so good. But anyways, I use this brush in particular it fits perfectly under eyes. So if I wanted to dust off excess, if I wanted to apply a little bit more powder, I'll show you. If I wanted to like apply a little bit more powder under eye, this is My Yummy Targeted Fluff Medium. My Yummy Targeted Brush Medium. Just tap that right in there, tap off the excess, and then look how it just sits right there. Like perfectly under eye, like in that corner. I love it. I love it. The shape is actually spectacular. But then I can also like dust off the excess. That's a good brush right there, Savannah. The last step really, instead of blush, is actually, again, another dose of setting spray. But before you apply any setting spray, because setting spray is gonna like do a little bit more and lock it in place, this is when you do a check to make sure that you love everything that you have blended. So right now, this is usually my issue. Right now, I don't love the way that my forehead is looking. Like it looks very clear that there's a demarcation. So this is exactly why, like, do not set before you decide. I'm gonna take a clean brush. This is a clean foundation brush, Sephora Pro Foundation Brush 55. And I'm just gonna turn in this direction because that's the direction where I see the issue. If I look straight on, it's not as bad. But when I turn, that's when I'm like, I don't really like that. So I'm just gonna do that, and it's a clean brush. And now I like how that looks. I also realized that I forgot to set my cream bronzer on my nose. So I'm just gonna take an eyeshadow brush and go in with the bronzer right on those places where I applied it, but nothing too crazy, nothing too crazy. I think I want a little bit more blush, just a little bit. Is this the blush? Yes, it is. Yeah, because like, come on, give me something. Yeah. And just like that, we're ready for setting spray and pretty much the end of this routine. It doesn't need to be too crazy, but you see how that hydration, like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I am talking about. But like, your makeup is not gonna eat if you just do a pop and base and don't do your eyes or your lips. I'm gonna do that off camera because that's not what the focus of this video is, and this video would be incredibly long and my SD card is almost out of space. I'm gonna do that off camera. I'm actually gonna film it for Instagram. I'll film an eye routine, my eye routine for Instagram, but I'll probably also film it for YouTube so that you also have a permanent place to see this. But let me be right back and come back to you with the final makeup look. It is so funny that I wanted to film my eye look today because of all the days that my eyes wants to continuously water, it is today. As you can see, I'm like in the process of letting my eye makeup dry, or my makeup dry. Like my, I have no words. But the base still eats, but I just need to let my concealer dry. Before I need to let the water dry. Like I need it to just dry. At this point, I honestly might just like dab it a little, even though I know I'm not supposed to, but like my eyes have just been watering for way too long at this point, and I really want to wrap this up because I actually have other things to do. I'm way behind schedule. Honestly, you know what, while we're here, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm not fixing my lash. I feel like every time I try to fix the inner corner of my lash, it makes me tear up even more. So I am just letting that ship sail because I really only did this to film. But yeah. It's dry now, right? So it's dry. We're dry right over here. I'm just gonna dab a little bit of that. Nope, that's the wrong shade of the concealer. I'm gonna take the brightest concealer that I used, which was 6.5 Brittle in the Huda Beauty. And I'm just gonna do a little bit right there, just that. And I'm gonna let that dry down just a little bit. I actually did this on this side because I was watery as well. So this is also fixed concealer. And I'm just gonna let that dry a little bit, but also I feel some more tears coming and I don't wanna feel more tears coming. Okay, just breathe, 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 breathe. And fan. Just fan it down, sis, fan it down. You got this. And then I'm gonna take my damp beauty sponge and do a light dab. Do a light dab. Oh, it's kind of making it over it. And I'm gonna do the best I can with what I got, because I still feel some water coming down, but yeah, that's not ideal. It's not ideal. I definitely still see patchiness, but I'm gonna do the best I can with what I got. I still feel beautiful. I still feel like I did a beat. I still feel like I know how to do my makeup. It's just the elements. I don't know why I'm tearing up today. Maybe somebody's plotting against me. But so we made it to the end. This is what my full base routine looks like once I've done my eyes and my lips. Again, this is camera ready, picture perfect, you name it. You are going to look like that girl if you do this routine. So I hope you do try it out. And if you do, let me know how it goes. But also feel free to subscribe to my channel for more makeup videos, vlogs, lifestyle videos, and just generally becoming that girl. Not that I'm that girl, but like, you know, we're becoming that girl together. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.